diligently, but those are not complete yet. But I am working on it, and I will get those done, and I'll make sure that I get those to all of the committee members, as well as hard copy for the city records, and also digital copies for the city as well. So still working on that.
Do you want me to take minutes for you this time?
No, I type on my agenda, so thank you very much for offering. I appreciate that. Just, so the next thing is the vice chair. Now, of course, there's what I will say is that we have October, November, December, 3 months left in the year for this year. And then we'll be reconfiguring all of the committees. So I just wanted to know everybody's thoughts on whether we want to appoint a vice chair or what we want to do with that.
What do you want to do as chair? What would you rather have?
I would like to have your input.
Well, the vice chair, I feel like the most important part is that they, or at least to me, is that they take the minutes and help with that kind of stuff. So if that's something that you feel like would really be beneficial to you, I can step up as vice chair for the time being until we reconfigure. But if you don't care, then I'm fine with that too. I feel like the role of the vice chair is most beneficial to you, so.
I actually, one of the things that I was thinking about is, because I've had to cancel 2 meetings this year, and it would have been nice for the meeting to still go forward, even though I wasn't able to be there. I mean, I don't know. So, I guess with our committees, we have been running with all of the members of council on every committee, which we no longer have that.
Right.
But it seems, I don't know, seems to me like the committees should be smaller than the actual body. But, I mean, there's no rules about it, so I don't know. What do you think, Ms. Blythe?
If you should have someone for the next 3 months?
Right.
Well, I can't, I can't do it. I mean, I could, but I'll be gone after January. But to me, it would be definitely up to you. Who was your chair? You haven't had one, or?
No, for Rules and Public Policy, it was Matt Miller-Novak, but he resigned.
I see.
He just wanted to come to meetings just on the day of the Budget and Finance meeting, so he joined the Community Development. I'm not saying the name of that committee correctly, but that.
Yeah, Community Development and
Recreation, yes. So,
Community Development and Recreation Committee. We gotta
I just
shorten
call
our
it
thing.
rec. That's all.
We
I
should
call it.
rebrand
It's 'cause
that
it's
committee.
easier. It's like a mouthful.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
hello, Ms. Dukestein. What do you think?
I definitely see the dilemma with him resigning. And so your question is, do you choose someone for operational purposes through the end of the year, or you just go without? I think the burden then becomes, I don't understand what the person in Mr. Miller-Novak's role does completely on the committee to say whether you could function without it. I mean, just objectively, it looks like it doesn't require much. So I feel like it could be operated, in my opinion, in the meetings that I've been in, it's flowed well. We do well with getting through the items. But if there are things going on behind the scenes that I'm not aware of that he was doing, then possibly we need to focus on making sure someone backfills that. So forgive my ignorance in not knowing what is done behind the scenes.
Typically, if there's something that needs to be done behind the scenes, I would just approach a particular individual. So it wasn't always necessarily Mr. Miller Novak, but, sometimes things were happening behind the scenes, and I may have asked you a question and not even told you why I was asking the question. So,
Well, then in that case, I think it's fine. I mean, to go forward with that as long as everyone else feels okay with that. Like, I'm always willing to help in any capacity that you could see me filling in. I feel like I've joined all of them, and I'm still trying to learn all of the in and outs of all of them. So, I mean, you've been in rooms where I volunteered, and then other times I'm just kind of quiet because I don't really know enough to kind of throw my hat in the ring, I guess.
okay.
So I'm always available to help or fill in, but kind of hold the seat. I think I'm not as prepared. But I don't think you were asking me that either. I was just kind of throwing that out there because whenever I have this thing in my personality where it's like, oh, I can help you, I'll do that. And then I'm overwhelmed. So I have to fight to not, when I see blank spaces,
Right.
get in them. So I'm really talking to myself, I guess. Sorry.
Well, I'm just making sure, honestly, that everybody's okay with there being a blank space. I mean, I don't think that we need to fill the space before January when we reconfigure all of the committees, but,
I think
if
that's a fair
somebody just
assessment.
really feels a certain way about there being a blank space there. Good evening, Ms. Sorb.
Please forgive my tardiness. I apologize.
It's okay, we live and we work. What do you think?
I don't know what your subject is.
Okay, so
Somewhere, that's what I was just thinking.
I emailed them to everyone. I emailed them last night. And I don't know if you can access your email. I didn't print out copies for everyone, but at least not for this committee. There's a document that I had sent also for the next committee meeting that I know that you will want to take a look at because it was very, very interesting. I think we'll have some good discussion at our next meeting. So my question was, we, as you pointed out to me, I believe, that I no longer have a vice chair for either of these two committees. So I'm just trying to determine whether anybody thinks we should try to fill that for the next literally 3 months, or are we okay just to wait until January when we reconfigure all the committees? What I will also say is that before you came in I've canceled 2 meetings this year. I canceled May's meeting as well as August. I don't plan to cancel any more meetings. I'll just sit here with water and some kind of caffeinated drink and get through it so we can get things done. But, I mean,
Can I add something really quick before you answer?
sure.
I was just looking in the rules packet, see if there's anything about the co-chair or any of the responsibilities that maybe we didn't catch. It just
didn't
says
bring
committee
that.
chair or co-chair shall have the authority to
I don't think
schedule
about the rules.
meetings and set the agenda for the committee meetings. But then in the sentence right after it, says, once the items have been referred to committee, the chair shall set the agenda for the committee meeting. So I guess, the only set role for the co-chairs, if the chair's not there, they can step in. So, I'm fine with, I'll be honest, as long as I don't have to make an agenda and kind of be the one to do the research. I can take over for the meetings and run them if I have a set script, but that's just a lot to take on that's kind of the hardest part about being chair is having to, set up all the stuff beforehand, even though it's not that much. I know I'm complaining, but
Right.
So-
Well, I think the problem is that sometimes our work life gets away from us, and it just, you never can tell when something happens, especially with me, it's like sometimes it just kind of runs away from me. So,
Gotcha.
I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to send that document out during the course of today because there was just way too much going on today, which is why I sent it last night. But you're absolutely right.
Well, and I guess that's kind of where I was going to that exact point is because we both all have, I believe Marjorie calls it a big girl job. So we all have our big girl jobs during the day, right? And
Yes.
and absolutely it takes from us, and I'm a prime example. I was working late tonight. So, I mean, it happens, and it's not like we can schedule that. And I think rather than put all that pressure on the chairs, I think that's kind of where the vice chair should be able to step in and because my personal opinion is if the chair can't make it because of their big girl job, then the vice chair should be able to run that meeting and should be able to carry that load for that night. And because I'm sure, just like you said, you're not planning on doing it anymore, but that doesn't mean that it won't happen. I
Right.
mean, I'm sure you didn't plan it the last two, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, life happens, work happens, and let's face it, we can't live on this pay, so we have to keep our big girl jobs, right? Because I like to eat.
I'm thinking about moving to Florida, selling engraved bracelets on the weekends
You're
in a shack.
I'll come too.
How good's your handwriting?
They have a little machine where you just etch
See,
it,
she doesn't have to worry about it. No, she's fine.
and then I just gotta put the buttons on there so that they clasp on your wrist. I think about it every time I go. Never coming back.
You get to bring your mosquito spray.
I'm okay. I'll take the mosquitoes over all of that.
So I guess where I was going is I will I'll be your vice chair.
Okay. I've got several volunteers.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
I came.
No, no.
I really did come late to the party. I don't even have to fall on the sword. All right.
That's okay.
No, please do.
I've got two committees,
please
so
do.
if I've
Please
got
fall.
two volunteers, it sounds like I'm covered, right?
You're
Yeah.
good.
Okay. All right, so I've got Ms. Anderson and Ms. Zorb volunteering. And I've got Ms. Dukestein, who doesn't need to volunteer, and Ms. Blythe.
Do you have a preference? Or you want to flip a coin?
His wife is,
I'm probably flipping a
still
coin.
be around. I
Okay,
was
so
stalking
which is
council
which?
before I even
What do you guys
came
wanna
on
do?
council.
We're gonna literally
come
Well,
flip a
wait,
coin.
do you need a co-chair for both?
Run nine,
this?
like,
So-
what the other one is.
Cool.
It
I'll take
was-
this one.
It was too risky.
Actually, wait.
because-
I want public safety if you don't mind.
Like,
Oh,
run and
okay.
write it.
Okay.
Yeah,
with that?
somebody else was
Yep.
doing it.
Okay,
and,
all right, so
um,
we'll, at the
so I
next,
just decided
at
not
our
to 'cause I
next
didn't-
meeting,
yeah. So that's why I didn't.
we'll move
Got the
that
gentleman's
take
name, Mr.
place.
Wall told me. So, but I still wanna participate.
Okay,
Hopefully
all
I get to
right,
stay on
so-
CRC, but that's up to the mayor. Yep. Yeah, right in.
okay, so the next thing on our agenda is old business, where we talk about, we were talking about legislative procedure. We were kind of going through the council rules, where, of course, without the notes from what we were discussing, that's kind of not helpful, but we were also talking about our process for committee meeting minutes and agendas, like how we can get those digitized. And we were also talking about summer session. Anybody want to just kind of jump in on any of those topics?
So can you be a little more precise on what you mean by digitized? Because like you're typing them right there, so they're digitized,
Well,
right? Or
I
what-
think-
What do you mean by that?
just a way for them to be posted on the website. So people can just click on them and see them on the website. Because I just,
So do you have access to the website?
no.
Okay. Do you ever send a digitized version of your minutes to Ms. Dewald to post? I thought there is, in the document center, there is a file location, I thought, for our minutes. Right.
That'll refresh your
I thought so
memory.
too, but I wasn't, are we supposed to be sending them to Ms. Dewald? I just wasn't aware that we were supposed to.
Well,
I can write on this agenda
don't-
here.
Right.
I'm just saying, if you want them posted on the website and we
Okay.
don't have access to put them on the website,
Right.
that's where
Oh,
That's where
she
that
has
falls.
access, okay.
she posts all the agendas and minutes for the council meetings and the legislation.
The
She
only
does
thing
that
Val
now.
does, okay, that
The only
makes
thing that
sense.
worries me about that is especially because administration's thinking of switching up the website user. I would just wanna make sure that we have, a server separate of the website to more permanently or semi-permanently save these. But I also know a while back, we were talking about changing the requirement for how long we have to keep something, cause right now
Right.
it's infinity. So would that be something that we wanna kinda talk about and change before we kind of finalize how we're gonna save it? It's kinda like chicken before the egg.
I think it's kind of all
Right.
wrapped in together.
Good point.
That was one of the things that Matt had looked into. One of his last acts, I think, was to figure out that we don't have a limit of time that we have set to maintain documents, and we really need to set a finite amount of time to maintain documents for public record purposes.
Wouldn't that,
I
Madam
feel like
Chair,
that's-
wouldn't that be the same time frame as the state of Ohio? Our records wouldn't align with theirs, however long they keep records?
My understanding from him is that we can set our own timeframe.
Oh, okay, I would think it would be in line with the,
I feel
okay.
like we have a records retention policy. Because I
Feel like it
feel
should be
like I was at meetings with Cheryl Long and,
See, I didn't bring my
Her name
rules
is
and
Burton.
regulations folder.
I know I was.
Oh, it's
I
online.
know I was in meetings.
Oh, yeah, let me see if I can find it.
It may be that we do, and it's just a really long time. That could be what it is. I don't really
Yeah, I
recall.
think last time when Matt looked it up, it said like an insane amount of time that like was just not reasonable.
So
Let me see if
I
can
guess
find
my
it.
other question would be,
Here's
do we
ru- I
need to ask
found it,
Mr.
okay.
Dieters, what is legally acceptable? What is a legally acceptable length of time?
You know what? I'm actually emailing Mr. Dieters right now, so I can
Look
go
at
ahead and
that.
ask him.
2 birds, 1 email.
There we go. Oh, God,
I'd
that's
make
good.
sure I mark that line item 1 and line item 2, so you get 2 answers instead of,
You know him well.
might have emailed him before. But the other thing, as, like, almost as a backup, are we doing away with the file cabinets in here? Or are we?
So I've done some research on that. And I've actually looked at those
Say.
file cabinets. They're abysmal.
Doesn't say anything.
They're in terrible shape. They're kind of falling apart. They're not organized. I couldn't really,
I can find the
I
chart.
didn't,
Charter.
when I looked in there, unless I missed something. One in the corner over there.
I mean, I had one marked as committee minutes. And then
So-
inside, I mean, like, on the front it said council committee minutes, and then there were
I
different
don't
folders
see it
and.
for the charter. Let me try again.
Maybe not.
Maybe maybe we can go back and look again.
Let's take a tour.
Yes, so,
Okay.
Charter.
I just what I think we should do is get everything that we have there now. And I actually looked, we can get a scanner that scans like 12 pages a minute or 15 pages a minute. And the scanner is like $300.
Does that
That
printer not
copier does
scan?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
that
does.
copier
Copier
scans.
should
It doesn't scan 15 pages a minute. I don't know.
I would hope it'd be faster than that.
I would have thought too, but it goes very slow.
Oh,
It's
I
very
found
slow.
it.
It's not a
Oh.
very
I
good
found the
copier.
What
chart.
about the big copier?
Yeah, it's
Here
not
it
a very
is. Let
good
me
copier.
find records.
We're paying a lot of money for that big copier. They're
Yeah, it's
big.
not very good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Records Commission. What is that?
yeah, well, so there you have it. That's kind of what I had come up with, just something, because if we can just scan everything in, I mean, we should be able to just kind of stick a stack of paper on there, and it just goes zoop, 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 zoop. I mean, for what we're paying for that thing, right?
Mhm.
Doesn't do that.
Okay. I can't say I've ever tried.
I did. It's very, it was disappointing.
Madam Chair, there is a mention of a Records Commission in the charter. It just lists who the members should be.
What does it say?
Their records commission shall, well, it says, they shall periodically review the types and locations of official city records to ensure that they are being processed and preserved according to relative state statutes. Additionally, in accordance with state statutes, the Records Commission is responsible for the proper retention and disposal of records of the city. The Records Commission shall consist of 4 members, which are resident elector of the city appointed by the mayor, the finance manager, the law director, and the mayor. And that's section 10.05 of the charter.
So that's up to administration to put together, not for council to put together. So basically, just at our next meeting, we need to mention to administration, hey, you guys gotta put this together.
Records Commission, that's what it says.
Or, because we clearly love our city, that's why we're on city council, because we are definitely not making the big bucks. We could just try to figure out, how to fix the problem so that it can, going forward, it just kind of,
Oh, I agree. I think we should stick
Yeah.
on the problem while we have it, but I mean,
Yeah.
in the future, I still think that we should mention to them and say, hey, this isn't our, beast to fight. So, I say we stick to it and still mention it to them at the next council meeting.
we can mention it.
You know why I feel like we have a records retention policy? Because that also accounts for our emails.
Yeah, I would think we'd have one. I just, I'll get this back. I'll just.
Oh, I believe that we do have one. I just think that it's a very long period of time. Whatever it was, Matt
feel like
told me
it's
what it
7
I think
was.
it would be at least 10 years, because you never know
I think
what
it's
could come
longer.
up. I mean, it wouldn't
Whatever
be-
it was a very long period of time.
Okay.
Longer than average.
I agree.
And whatever the period of time was,
Yep, I hear you.
it's just a small thing that we can do. It's very small.
Really quickly, just so you guys can approve, I'm just gonna ask Mr. Dieters, what is the length of time that we legally have to keep records, places I put minutes, emails, agendas, et cetera?
I don't think
Could
the
you put
lawyer
the
would
word
know.
maximum
I
in
mean,
there?
he should. He's a
Maximum
lawyer.
length of
He
time.
should
Yes, thank you.
know that information.
I am exhausted today.
You have what?
Rough time
what
on
I'm
the
s-
beach selling your bracelets?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, actually, I've had 3 funerals in 4 days, and they were all family, so I'm just tired. I'm mentally tired.
There's a funeral for someone, and her mother is a member of our church. at Thompson, Hall, and Jordan on.
Alright, so what's our, final
Road.
verdict on the record stuff? Are we gonna try to find
She's young.
time, or are we
she's
just gonna
like
wait for Mr.
60
Dieter's
or
answer, or?
something.
I mean, we can wait for him to answer, but at the end of the day, I still think that it's something we should address, or, we should definitely try to,
Oh, I agree. Is there like an idea or like a first step that we have to take?
probably put it on the agenda for council.
Can we have, I think we need to have more research before we put it on the
Yeah.
agenda, because we're just gonna
Yeah,
volley it around and not have
yeah,
any.
not to have any more
So what is it
information.
that we need to research or?
And I'm gonna kind of get sticky here.
Mhm.
The word is policy. It's a records retention
Policy, right.
We don't set policy. Administration does.
Right.
Ah,
I know. However,
All right.
I know,
it's coming up.
I'd
in-
I am aware. However,
So when we hear stay in your
Oh.
lane,
Right.
well,
when we
the
hear
thing
no
is that we own,
yes.
our meeting agendas and we own our meeting minutes, and we need to figure out some kind of way to keep track of that at the very least, I would think.
Come up with something just for, administration to say,
So
no.
could we bring it up in new business to make a strong suggestion that administration, look at the,
Look for the old records retention policy.
No, I got
and see-
something to send you guys. Give me just a second. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all, so we'll just put on the agenda for the next council meeting to motion for administration to investigate.
I mean, really, you can
Policy.
just send them an email right now and say, can you look this up and send it to us?
I got you.
We don't
I'm
need a
sending
council
you
meeting.
guys something. I found an email. It's from, it doesn't say the year, March 23rd. And the title is Records Retention Rules for North College Hill.
There you go.
It is sent by Diane Tolley, the mayor's assistant. And let me see, who did she send it to? Well, it had to be council. Okay, so it should come up in your email.
Yeah, it's here.
And we are in a meeting, so I'm allowed to forward you that, because we're discussing it in
Right.
public. So,
Well, if she sent it, it had to be fairly recent anyhow.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like very detailed, like,
it's 18 pages long?
I've
Wow.
never seen
I
this
just
in
sent
my
it to you,
but this
Arias.
is like, there's like maybe 10 sections so far that are permanent. But I mean, there's like over 100 sections in here. Most of them are like 3-year, 2-year, 3-year, 2-year, 5-year, 7-year.
And it's called General Administrative Records.
Retain until acceptance of project,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that kind of stuff, until paid off. So yeah, I mean, but most of the stuff in here is stuff that we would never run into. Let me see where it talks about.
Now, it does say minutes of the meeting permanent, in other words,
Right.
forever. I'm seeing that
I
here.
think that was what Matt was telling me was
Yes.
not necessarily reasonable.
Mhm.
But that's up to administration to legally change, not us, right?
I mean, and the other side of that coin is, once we have a meeting, we have an agenda, we have our minutes, we put them in the drawer. I mean, are you saying that we're going to go through the files and we're gonna purge the other stuff?
No. I just wanted to just, whatever I've done, for example, or whatever we've done, to make sure that they're available in some kind of a digital format. But I know I don't want to own, like, I just feel like that's something that we should try to make sure it happens.
Wow.
Oh, also,
Like, if
do
they're
we-
there in the file cabinet, it would be easy enough to scan them through. I don't volunteer to do that. I'm just saying we should try to make sure that it gets done
Ordinances
some
are
kind of way.
permanent,
Right,
resolutions are
Do we
permanent.
have the physical room to hold every agenda and minute forever?
A lot of empty file cabinets in there.
Are there? Okay. I mean, I got a lot of printing to do if that's the case, but I can do it.
See, I just want us to be able to send them somewhere and,
This is
and say,
detailed. This is
it-
very
it's-
detailed.
it's sent and have them, you know, some people can just click on them and look at them.
So our problem isn't that, so does anybody have an issue with the fact that it's permanent, that we have to permanently keep all of the agendas and minutes?
The only issue I have with that is that I haven't, if I can go back and find the first meeting minutes from the first committee meeting ever, then no, but
Right.
I don't know that we can do that.
So then the main issue that I'm
Are you,
seeing.
hang on a minute. Are you talking about your first committee, or you're talking about
The first ever,
in
right,
1817 or whatever, whenever the city was built?
right. Well, I mean, that's what the charter says, or what the policy says, right? And I know it's their policy, but I still, you know,
Right, if we're gonna set that standard, then we gotta fulfill it.
right. I don't know.
No, I
I
agree.
just wanna be better. I just want things to be better.
I think we definitely should move to retaining the files digitally, even if that means scanning and all the other stuff. But forward, I think that the committee persons who create the agendas or notes or whatever need to put them in there. It takes away, like, that should just be a part of the job, or maybe there's an added, like, for the vice president or some other leadership committee on those committees do that, because then when you file yourself, you're filing consistently and people can easily go back. So like, say for instance, this committee, and then the dates there, I think it's required and necessary that we keep it forever, because when things are developed in these committees, brought to council, people need to understand the reasons why those thinkings were there. So that as they're digging, they may come across things like that school thing with the land. I don't understand that, but there's not a lot there to even figure out why they did that. So it's just an example, like, were they, just in my opinion, what were you thinking, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
then
agree.
if you understand the thinking behind some of the minutes, that comes with that. So I think the forever thing should happen. I think we should file according to each committee and figure out how we need to get those files back there in a digital format and go forward from there.
See, I kind of think it should be both. I really think there should be a paper backup, and I think there
I
should be
agree.
electronic.
Right.
Because not all the citizens in this city have the ability to look on the electronic device, to look up those records, and therefore they would come in here and would like to get a paper copy. And the other thing I'd like to point out is that land swap is a prime example of that has an agreement for 20 years in it. So if our retention policy is less than 20 years, that document could go away before it was even expired.
Well, that makes sense.
Truth.
I just found this document. It's called the Local Government Records Manual. It was put out by the state of Ohio. And it says there are 4 basic values that need to be assessed for each record series: administrative, fiscal, legal, and historical. So for administrative value, use and carrying out of agencies' functions, the length has to be checked with the record's creators, so that would be up to us. Fiscal value, so stuff like, receipts, whatever, pertains to the receipt, transfer, payment, adjustment, or encumbrances of funds may be required for an audit, so then we would have to check with the fiscal officer, so our finance director, for when those need to be kept. For legal value documents, or protects rights or obligations of citizens or of the agency that created it, retain until all legal rights and obligations expire, so those need to be kept forever. And then historical value documents an agency's organization, policies, decisions, procedures, operations, and other activities contain significant information about people, places, events, and may have secondary value as a source of information for persons other than the creator. And it says it says check the state archives. So I don't really know what that means, but it's basically
That means the
saying,
state keeps the records forever.
yes, there you go. So I mean, I guess it's all just kind of up to us, except for the legal stuff, which, I mean, we don't touch that much, and the fiscal stuff we do touch, but I mean, the finance director is going to keep that, not us. So, I mean, just to answer the question of how long are we legally obligated to keep it, that's kind of up to us. But I don't know. I mean, I'll still wait for Dieter's to answer. But anyway, sorry, back to what you guys were saying. I just found that answer.
So
Is anyone opposed to a digital and a paper copy?
I'm not. I think that's a great idea.
I do too.
I think it is too.
I think we don't have an option. That just has to be that, just because the way, what you said, you know?
I think the thing that is absolutely within our control is we need to come up with a naming convention. Sorry, it went out of my head. But so that, because if you look on our document center, it is tough to find stuff. So if we
Yeah.
come up with a set, so that stuff falls in order, so like 2021, and then the month, and then, safety committee.
That's smart.
Yes, I agree.
And the month has to be a two-digit
Boils down to
code,
a good
a
web
two-digit
person.
number.
So
Mhm.
is that something that we would have to put into like the council rules?
That's
Or is
what,
that just something that we can say like, hey, everybody needs to do this?
I think we should put it in the council rules.
I agree too, just because, I mean, we're not all, 5 gonna be on council for the rest of our lives. We might as well set it so
We
that
are
way
for the
they're,
next 4 years.
or over
Maybe.
the next, I'm kidding. So, yeah, no, I think it should be put in council rules. I mean, we're already planning on changing parts of council rules anyway. We might as well do that.
All right.
The only thing I can see as a pitfall is when we start changing the names of the committees. But it would still, if they change it properly, could still.
Well, and then that's a new committee. I feel like if you're changing the name of the committee, you might be changing the intent of the committee. So then I feel like that would just be a new committee.
Okay.
All right, so do we have to, recommend to administration then a digital system to use? Or do we just say to them, hey, we want a digital system and they pick?
No,
Maybe
just
we
use
can-
the website.
Yeah, maybe we just will figure out our, just the committee meetings and our meeting agendas and our meeting minutes. And, since that is our lane, I think we're in our lane if we're making sure that those are done properly and we're not stepping out of our lane, I think.
Okay.
So what I think should happen is whoever the chairs and vice chairs should get a login to the website, and you can post your own stuff.
That would be very efficient, however.
The only thing, if we want it to be permanent digitally, that website's not gonna be the answer.
Which is why we have to have that backup copy of a tree.
For sure. Okay,
Backup
All right.
system for files.
sounds like we've got
I
a,
would say that The website would not be a permanent.
Well, they're thinking of switching the website.
Yeah, but that data's still out there.
So the data would still be out there, but if you don't get somebody who's properly switching the website, I mean, they might not switch it over. And I mean, yeah, it's out there forever, but the more stuff we put on the website, the more storage we're taking up, the more expensive the website gets. So that might mean that, you know, administration wants to take some stuff off the website to fit more stuff in a cheaper price or in the same price. I just don't think that
Actually,
that's.
that's a really good point. Maybe that's where the retention policy
That's where
comes
I was
into
gonna
play.
go.
What?
That the retention on the website has a limit, but
Yeah.
the retention, the paper copy. But there are other ways to store data without it being accessible to the public. It just has, we just have to have it, right?
That's what I was getting
Right.
ready to say is.
So-
But that's still
backup
drive
system.
space, which is cheaper than it used to be, but.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like cloud or something, or
I
a
don't
physical
know.
drive.
I mean,
I'm trying to find,
Oh.
can you even
Physical
find the
backup
document
drive.
center on this website?
Let me look
do
it
you,
up.
I mean,
I'm not go to the
I'm,
website.
I'm used to corporate data. I don't think that there's a fear that if we let go of this paper, we're never gonna have this. I thought the point she made about in our city, given the diversity of our population, people may not have access to digital tools to access the documents. And because we're a municipality, we need to leave that stuff accessible. But I'm less concerned about losing information in the transfer than I am about, I'm more concerned about accessibility to those that are straying across different generations.
Right.
But eventually, that will not be a problem as
Mhm,
our,
that's what I thought.
I mean, for me, I'm never gonna be a person that can't connect digitally because I don't do paper now. You know, so I'm always going to be forward moving with that because it's a part of my,
Yeah, I'm in,
DNA.
what I will say is I'm in a conversion process. I printed my agendas on paper, but I'm typing my minutes digitally, and I would like to, I have them all, did the ones that are complete and as accurate as I like to make them are all in a digital format. I would really like to put them somewhere where everyone can access them. And if somebody wants to print out a copy for somebody who stops by the city center, I want them someplace central where we can,
that's what I think is helpful, you know. if
You know,
go
where we
during
can
business
just kinda print
hours,
them
you print
out.
it Because with that, because you have to develop a super conscientiousness about reducing the carbon print. And it's
Right.
just where our world is going. We have to.
I,
It's just sustainability for the next generation, and that looks like digital stuff.
right,
So-
I just want us to, you know, I just want us to do better and be better, so. Okay, well, we'll table the discussion for now. I'll try to, as an action item, come up with, some concrete suggestions.
Is there like a smell good thing in here?
Oh,
I'm
what?
sorry. It's like, oh, it's so overwhelming.
It's right behind you, that's why.
Oh,
You can turn down the fragrance.
I can turn it off.
You can turn it off, yeah, if you unplug it, but
I don't even want to touch it. I
Where
don't even
is
know my
it?
hands. It's right behind me. It's very.
Oh, it's a Febreze. I was wondering what I was smelling when
I
I
don't like
first
Febreze.
came
I don't
in.
smell it at all over here.
You're next to it. Mhm.
You smell it?
Smell it.
I can't smell it.
So there is
You
a,
have COVID. That's what my kids would
The-
say when you
the-
can't smell or taste. You have COVID, Mom.
the committee
Okay.
names aren't even correct
right,
on the website.
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, who's in charge of this?
I don't
There is
know
a
who's
drawer
in
back
charge.
there that
Mhm.
says, committee minutes and agendas.
Mhm.
It's locked. I don't know who has the key to that.
Okay, that's helpful.
That's
Okay,
Doing
by
so
year.
good.
Okay.
all right.
All right, we might need to move on to another
Yeah,
topic. We're
yeah,
gonna
that's
beat
what I
this
just
up all
said.
night.
Yeah, let's move
So
on,
I-
so.
Just in one last comment, I think that even though it's laborsome, it is very important and it's timely because they're talking about doing the website. It is what it is, like we gotta, I think when I think about technology, and this is a rule of thumb, and, Mary Jo Zorb, you may agree, cause you're in that area, is that you always buy and think forward. You can't think about it from right now. And so that's why I said, in terms of the population, I get where people are, and we need to accommodate that, which is why I like what you said about our retention being digital, but that looks like easy access, printed out when someone comes in. That doesn't look like a file drawer still yet. But I do think it is necessary to make it accessible. So what we're doing is we're making our human people accessible to those who don't have accessibility to technology, to being able to give them.
Yeah, and a part of, and a part of what I was suggesting also was just the documents that are in place in that file cabinet, which don't encompass the period of time that they're supposed to, I think. But if we just take those and scan them in, at least we have them in a digital format.
And that doesn't have to be accessible cyberly.
Is there?
That's where we kick in the retention of how long do we keep it up or whatever.
Right.
It's like when you go to the courthouse, I just recently got a divorce, so I know they scan that whole big old document in there, you can access it for amount of time.
Right.
And you have to get like a little document login,
Right,
and they make it accessible to you for an amount of time, and then
Right.
after that, if there's no new filings or whatever, then you don't get to access it once you go down there.
right, and,
In their archives.
Yes.
yeah, well, it's off-site. There's a paper file off-site, but you're right, they are going backwards. They have an entire scanning division where they're going backwards to scan all of their files.
And I've been a part of like being in HR, that's one of the jobs, like, you know, cause you gotta retain all those
Right.
employee files and stuff like that for so many years, and then like the W-4s and all that crap.
Right, and that's one of the things that I'm required to do as an attorney as well. I'm required to keep files for a certain amount of time, and, you know, what I have started doing is scanning those old files. So if I have a scanned copy, then I can shred the original and get rid of it, and somebody needs the file, I can print it out.
That's what I
give
was
it-
thinking, like if we just wanna go to the digital, and then if anybody requests.
So that's what she said, and
Right,
that's why I was
exactly,
kind of
right.
reiterating.
That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking
yeah, yeah.
originally is,
And because what Mary Jo was saying at first is like, you know, she agreed with the paper copy, and when she said that, I agreed too. But then when Erica said, well, we could do it, we could scan it in and then just make the paper copy accessible for those that come in, because they'd be having to come in anyways, right?
Right,
And so we would just say, well, what do you want? And, you know, print it and give it to them.
and in theory, it should be a mouse click, 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 and then print it out, but again,
It's spending money on the front end, but it'll save money on the back end.
well,
We're
That's-
setting our city up for success long term.
I know, and I just wanna, I do wanna, stay in my lane, so to speak, but I also want us to be better. Okay, so, table
What did we agree to do? Ask the
for now.
administration to look at that or to put that.
I don't wanna kick the can anymore. I just wanna figure something out and get it done. And, you know, if they wanna go along, great. If not, great. I just
So
wanna,
let's just come up with our naming convention, and then we will have to ask them to get log-ons, and then we're done.
right,
right, that's all.
I agree.
We're done.
So our
Yep.
Navy, if we just wanna do this real quick, it can,
No, I don't want us to do it real quick. I want us to be mindful about how we,
Who's gonna send the email to ask for rights to login rights?
sounds like you wanna be the volunteer for that?
Got it.
Okay,
my email's
Go ahead.
already up.
Nope, Marjorie's doing it, she's already typing it.
oh, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You could try out.
Yeah, I'm on Restasis for like 8 or 9 years.
I always get eye infections because I overwear my contacts.
Okay, all right, so, all right. It's 7:20, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We were talking about summer session, but I think we can come back to that because that was a part of the rules, council rules that we were discussing. I do want to find those notes and forward those to everyone. Also, new business, is there any new business from anyone? Chirp, chirp, chirp. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Chirp. Crickets, okay. All right, so with there being no new business and we have our action items, concrete suggestions for records retention, come up with a naming convention, and Ms. Anderson is requesting access to store documents on the website. And then we are adjourned.
One,
Oh,
sorry,
okay,
one question.
sure.
Are we out of, are we not being lawful by not wearing masks? I know the ordinances that we,
I was gonna ask you
but
that.
we are 6 feet apart, so that's.
We are supposed to wear masks in the building. However, I was drinking out of my can and then I was drinking my water, so,
Nobody had
it's-
those on, so I just figured, oh, we're 6 feet apart, so I decided
and
not to. but-
that's actually why I moved away from Ms. Blythe to make sure that I was 6 feet from, yes.
Well, and because I'm charging, but also when
Right.
I'm over here, yeah.
Yes, I just, yes, I am aware of that, but I'm also, very tired. I've had a very long day. It started at 5:30 this morning and it's now, 12+ hours later. I was in court for 8 hours and I was at the jail and a bunch of other things. I'm just a little, yeah. Okay, so,
We adjourn for
yes, we can, yes. Yep, 7-minute break. Yep, so we are adjourned. It is 7:23, and I will see you all at 7:30. I apologize. We'll go ahead and get started with our Public Safety Committee meeting. So did everyone receive a copy of the agenda?
Yes.
And so the meeting minutes, I still have not completely updated them, but I will have those updated as soon as possible and in digital format so everyone can review them all and we can close out our year on a positive note. As far as the vice chair is concerned, I'll ask Ms. Anderson if she'll step into that role since Ms. Zorb stepped into the role of vice chair for the Rules and Public Policy Committee. Look at us moving right along. So I emailed you all also a document that was a sample of the North College Hill Police Department monthly report. And I'd like to, it's 32 pages. This is not something that I think we need. It's just really full of information. And when I had requested the report from them before, I was really looking for something more along the lines of this. I think this is really good information for us to have. But I don't know that we need all 32 pages. But I would like for us to have a good discussion about what pages are helpful and kind of, what we want to do. So, and with that, I will, I don't know if you guys want to just go page by page or how you want to handle that.
Are you able to just print that for me so I can see it?
I bet you I could if I knew how to do that.
I can, you're fine, I got you.
Back in.
I mean,
It's too hard for me to see on my phone.
Get back in, 'cause it's not.
Does anyone else need a printed copy of this report?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
I'm printing out 2 copies, one for myself and one for you.
Found it. My email got out of order.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson.
Of course.
I like the street locations in the report. That gives you an idea where to,
Okay, what page are you on?
I'm sorry, page 3.
Okay, well,
Offenses
we would-
and incidents by address. That gives you an idea where the sticky areas are.
okay.
That's at the beginning of the report.
I would like to know why there are, I mean, maybe it's just circumstance and this
I'll
is
just,
like this every month, but I don't totally understand why there are 1 per street when they get down there. Towards the bottom.
Yeah.
You don't understand what?
There are like, what, maybe 20 streets where there's 1 offense or incident per street.
Right, so in other words, for that month, that street may have only had 1 incident.
Right. No, I understand that part. But this is saying traffic incidents, right?
Oh, let me go back. Okay.
What page are you on?
Still on that page 3. I mean, I could be wrong, but they're talking about traffic incidents, right?
On page 3?
No, they're not.
Says
They're talking about
No.
theft, crime.
They're
Okay.
talking about total offenses.
A little bit
I
of
see.
everything, yeah. That's what I'm showing.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes more sense.
Something is squealing,
I
It's
think
just the
that's
printer. It's printing out.
printer.
oh, okay, it's really high pitched, it's really in my ear, okay. Ooh. A little piece of cotton in there.
Something I would like to know. Sorry, I don't want to keep moving down. Do you just want to keep moving down the pages? And talk
I
about
just want to wait for Ms. Zorb to
Okay. Yeah,
have a
that's fine.
printed copy, because I don't want us to bounce around. I think that if we just kind of go through,
Look at everything.
kind of in order, then we can
No.
kind of tell them what we want. Because, I don't want to use the word whine, but I've been requesting this report for quite some time.
Oh,
offenses and incidents by event captured. I don't-
Is this only available to council, or is he gonna release this, like, on the website to be available for all?
I think we should probably talk about that. I don't know.
Right, because I know that, or I've heard through the grapevine of people who've lived here for a long time, that he used to give monthly reports, or whoever used to like all citizens.
Is that something we want to do?
I've heard a lot of people say that they would really like that again, and I think just the transparency of it, it's kind of like, you know, when the honesty is there, you don't feel like you have to, I did not like this mic. When the honesty is there, you don't feel like you have to check into it as much. It's just nice to know that it's there. And I mean, if he's able to get it, why not just upload it for everybody to see?
You think it needs to be monthly or quarterly? Quarterly is too slow.
I think monthly's better, because I mean, if you know that in August there were, you know, 5 thefts on Sundale, that way people in Sundale can know that, oh man, I'm gonna start locking up or keeping an eye out, or
Okay.
that's where I'm thinking. Thank you.
Okay, makes sense. Okay.
Oh, you're fine, you're fine.
See, I didn't know if it, you were talking about for the citizens to know. I was thinking about us knowing, so.
I think
Okay.
both.
Both, okay,
I think
'Cause I
the
was
more
thinking-
transparent a government can be, the better.
okay. I was thinking more.
I don't know about that, but
But for citizens, yeah, that would be good.
And I understand the integrity behind what you're trying to, say, but what happens is people with an honest effort to be integral, sometimes people don't understand the subject matter, and they begin to speak about it and have an opinion about it and leading it in a direction that they just don't have enough information to guide,
Then why not give out more information?
because some people will just never get it.
Well, that's up to them then. That's not for us to.
But you don't want those people guiding major decisions, like in terms of safety or whatever, you know. It's just a responsible thing to do. There's a leadership for a reason. It's the reason why you're a teacher in the classroom, the kids aren't teaching. You can't, just based on people's maturity and the ability to receive and really understand the information, some kids, I mean, in your classroom, you can't just give people the kids where they are.
Yeah, but the people in our city aren't children. They're adults if they
I
want to
understand.
have
What I
access to this.
was saying is that the maturity is different, the ability to receive and project information is different. Everybody's strong suit is not the same. So when you give information, it's not, everyone just can't internalize it and turn it around and project it in a good place. That's a big trust to give everybody. That's why you have appointed leaders, just my 2 cents. But
There is something that people on Nextdoor talk about. You probably know where you can review it every day and it tells you the runs and where they went. Is that for the police also?
it's just for the fire department.
It's only the fire department? I thought there was something.
Well, and yeah, with stuff like Nextdoor, I mean, a lot of that stuff isn't always factual. I mean, people are going to talk and they're going to look for information no matter what. We might as well give them what actually happened rather than just random stuff that they're looking up on Ring or Nextdoor or whatever. That's where I'm coming
I
from.
don't think it's, now when I think about it, I think it might be something offered by Finneytown or Springfield Township, but you can go to the website and look up, different things that are going on. I can't say the name right now, but one of the communities has something, it's for citizens, so.
Right.
Okay, so let's dive into this one. On the, as far as if we're, I don't know, just going, it looks like there's a total of 32 pages. And I don't know, what does everyone think about, is there any information as, you know, as you're scrolling through this that's not helpful?
And traffic information is good. Severity of traffic accidents. Vehicles by color.
I'm kind of giggling at the offenses and incidents by weather.
That's what I was looking
I
at.
just
like,
never even thought
what?
that that would be a thing, but the fact that there's actually a trend that the offenses and incidences go up by rain, I mean, that's kind of but I don't think that any of this is unhelpful. I think it's just dependent upon what you're looking for.
Well, there's a known fact that they always say that the summer months, the hotter months, there's usually an increase in violence. And then I would assume the weather aspect of traffic, the slipperier the road, the more accidents. So that, some of that does kind of
What I would like to say though,
reflective on
right.
that. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I don't know
It's,
how you guys feel, but my initial
She sent it today.
response for the part where it
at-
talks about the suspects by race, I feel
I-
like that's more hurtful than helpful.
Well, she sent it September 26th.
I just don't quite understand what that has to do with anything.
It's implicit bias.
Right, so I mean, I guess that does kind of show who the police are looking at, if anything, but that is kind of interesting, though, that, I mean, they're looking at far more suspects that are black than white.
What page are you on?
That is on page, I wish I could tell you, but I don't have page numbers. Towards the beginning, I would guess like page 8 or 9.
It's page 9.
Thank you. Especially black males. I mean, that's just insane. 87.2% of their
Sorry,
suspects.
page 8.
I would also like, sorry, I moved quickly. I didn't know if anybody had anything to say
No,
on that.
it's okay. I think we're just kind of bouncing around and
Okay.
kind of throwing ideas out there.
So then if the race is on page 8, then I'm looking at page 9. I would like to know why there's 26 unknown. Do they not know why they arrested that person? Have they not put it into the report? Also, why does it say there's one for none? N-O-N-E. Is that an acronym or?
What page are you looking on?
9.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I don't understand the unknown. Like 26 people were arrested for an unknown reason.
Yeah, that. And then.
One person was arrested for no reason.
I mean, looking at our police, I guess I'm not really that surprised, but. Nobody really knows why they did.
Okay, well,
They thought it was fun.
that might be one of the reasons, Miss Anderson, that we don't just post the entire report out there because,
Because there's
because-
reasons behind this, and this could lead to so much speculation and.
Well, but I would also like, I mean, if they could just be more detailed. I don't think that I think that it's great to know why were they arrested, all arrests by reason. But I just don't think that if Chief Schran looked at this and saw that chart and he really thought that that was an okay thing to put, then I think that's more of an issue than people reading it and misunderstanding it.
I gotta tell you, I don't understand it. I mean, I'm sure it means something, but I'm also sure that, you know, at least I hope I'm sure that there wasn't someone who's just arrested for no reason.
I mean, I don't think that's why, but, you know, why is there 26 unknown?
I
has,
have to check this out, but it could be that, because you have to remember that our officers, and actually I had a discussion with him about this, our officers make arrests outside of our jurisdiction. And so I believe in some cases, those are included in these numbers.
Because it's, the 26 is coming from the warrant citation arrest. So could it be that they're arresting people with warrants outside of North College Hill?
Well, again, that's what I mean. They are involved in an arrest outside of our jurisdiction. They would be, they participated in it, but if they don't necessarily have it, but I'm not sure, I'm not certain.
So instead, could we maybe, instead of asking him not to include that, could we ask him for his next report to more detailed say, what do you mean you arrested 26 people for an unknown reason? Can you explain further on this document what that means, so that way people aren't confused?
So I would.
Provide examples of what unknown could be.
I would tell you, to me, this is man talk, like my son does this. Where there's good reasons behind it, where that.
I think that's an excuse.
So, but all I'm saying is, this is what it is though, cause what it sounds like, it could be that other cities, like say Cincinnati has a warrant out for somebody that lives in North College Hill, but then North College Hill goes or pulls them over.
Right, no, I understand what Mr. Mosby was saying, but still, I mean, I think that if he's going to release this report, he's not releasing the report for him and his, cop buddies. He's releasing this report for citizens and for people of council, so he needs to be more explicit.
Well, to be honest, I mean, he's putting, numbers into the system, and of course, the system is reporting it. Madam Chair, I think when you and I talked, that was the reason that I mentioned that. However, I was assuming that basically what you were doing is saying, hey, you would like to get input from the committee, which
That's
I
right.
respect. So for me, well, if I may offer this, at the beginning, information, and I think Ms. Dukes-Dean was kind of alluding to this, information is effective to the degree that one is able to use it. So if you just have information and you're not using it for anything, it really isn't helpful.
right,
And so what I wanted to do was find out what information would be helpful to the committee, certainly to you as the chair. And when I say helpful, I would specifically mean, if you're looking at the information to say, okay, moving forward, what might we need to do? If we see, for example, and these are just hypothetical, so please don't take this as actual, but if you see, for example, that there's an uptick in crime in a particular season, the anticipated, or one response might be, okay, what we'll do is we'll authorize additional forces to be on the street for a period of time, something like that. In other words, it's leading to an action. And that's just the first action that came off the top of my head, so I didn't mean that to mean that would actually happen. But I think that's what, honestly, that I was referring to, because, again, I actually agree with Ms. Dukes-Dean. This is information. The information is not, it certainly is public information, but to what degree is it going to be useful or helpful? And that's what we wanted to do, or that was, at least my objective. And after I talked to Mr. or Chief Schran, that's what we wanted to do.
I have 2 points to that. I don't know if we'll be able to know what we can do with the information unless we have the information. So I agree. I think that the information should be used. But if the information isn't being offered to us or isn't being presented to us, then we don't know what we can do with the information. Like, how do we know if we do need to give more officers during the summer months if we were never told that the, increase is during the summer months? So I just don't think that this should be oh, hey, we're only going to give it to you when you explicitly ask for these items kind of thing. I think it should be offered to us. Same with the citizens. I can't, I can't decide for, Joe and Susie down the street what they want to do with this information. and maybe they're studying crime rates as a grad student. I don't know, and that's not for me to decide. That's for them as a citizen to have the right to decide that for themselves, and the right to information and the right for access to information. I don't think that if people want information on their city, that they should have to go digging and down 4 different rabbit holes and asking 20 different people. I don't think that people are gonna know what to do with the information unless they have it.
So, is the reason that we're looking at this is because we're having a conversation or trying to decipher whether we want the information? Or are we actually looking at this for the reason of trying to decode the information?
Well, I think what my thinking was, because I had initially requested a report from Chief Schrand, and the reason, honestly, the reason was for me, you know, our law enforcement takes up over half of our budget, so I'd like to take this information and maybe, you know, we can work hand in hand with budget and finance, or, you know, use the information. For me, that's what the purpose of the report is. So, while I can,
Yeah, and Madam Chair, I mean, there's no, I mean, obviously, we wanted to make sure it's most effective. I
Right.
can continue to just give you the report as is.
well,
And what I'm saying is until you determine, when I say you, I don't mean just you, but the committee.
right, the committee, right.
What is going to be the most effective, you know, tailoring of that information so that, so it can be useful, basically, so.
So the reason I'm asking is I still stand with, we don't need to put, all information in all hands. However, if we are asking specifically for the information to be able to use it, it needs to be much more expressive and clear than what is here. And this looks like an internal document that is not interpretable by us, so it's not usable, because we cannot look at this and tell anything. So when you're asking for information, you don't get to give a bleak answer, give the full explanation of what it is and what we're looking at, if there's a key, if there are things that were perceived that, you know, the common person or the council members did not understand, then we need to be given that. But I don't necessarily think that it needs to be fed to people. If they ask for it, fine, transparency is good, but it doesn't need to be like in a newsletter or given out on a weekly basis unless they ask.
But how would people know
Madam-
what to even ask for?
Well, they would have to have a desire to want to, like, council had a desire for the information for the sake of, which is why I asked, Councilwoman Underwood, what were we planning to do with the information, because there has to be a reason for it. I mean, you don't have to, but it's just for us, we were trying to checks and balance with the finances, or maybe one of the reasons. If other things are uncovered in that checks and balances, fine and well. But for the purpose of this information, I just wanna make sure we're focused on the fact that, one, the information is not detailed enough, so we have to go back and just say, hey, let's clarify this, when asked. But to be completely transparent, transparency is not always helpful. I can't stress that enough. I mean, that's just true and real, so.
Madam Chair, I was just under the impression, when I saw this on your email, I think maybe 4 to 6 weeks ago, he came to us to discuss the overtime schedule and why it's needed. So when I saw this report before I came to council, I assume we're just reviewing some statistics because we have we're in need of a police levy. So I thought we were just getting this information just to see their schedules, not their schedules, but just the different amounts of crime and calls that they're doing. So I just thought this was just matter-of-fact information leading up to next year.
I think that's certainly one legitimate use for the information for sure. I mean, just to kind of see where we are and, you know, kind of where our resources are going, goes back to just kind of budget and financing or whatever. So and again, you know, and it could be what Mr. Mosby is saying, maybe we just need to kind of try to digest, you know, what was sent to us for a few months to try to figure out what would be helpful.
Madam Chair, can I offer one other thing too?
Sure.
So, you know, again, I really appreciate what Ms. Dukestein was saying. And even information, to be honest with you, is relative, particularly when it's juxtaposed or compared with others. So let me give you an example. Tonight, before the Law and Public Safety meeting, I was watching the national news. And the national news had indicated that murders across the United States were up 20%. Right? Do we know all the reasons why? Not exactly, but you had a lot of people, right? In fact, in many of the cases, most of the cases, handguns were used. But we all know that, you know, last year was a year of COVID. And one of the things that they were saying in comparison was that property thefts were down. So why were property thefts down? Well, the reason why was because more people were staying at home,
Working from home.
right? But at the same time, you had also more homicides. You had more deaths, you know, by gun. So I say that to say that, you know, if you're looking at it on a national scale, or when you put this information against what you see on a national scale, we look different, right? But again, even with that, you know, my point would be, okay, well, yes, that's, some of those things are good, but then how would this be used, you know, moving forward? You know, what is going to be used to either help, as Madam Chair, as you said, what's going to help, you know, as far as the effectiveness of the police department, or as Ms. Bly said, it could be, you know, information that might be used to say, okay, you know, is this justification for some kind of a change or no change in the levy? It could be used in many ways. I just think that, you know, what I was trying to do is to actually work with Chair and the committee to just make sure that we present information that is going to be useful.
Right.
And so I agreed, and let me retract on record one statement that I made. I said verbatim that my transparency is not always good, true, and real. But I don't mean transparency, I mean just the spoon feeding of information. Transparency for me is good, but with information. And so, let me say that, but back to the document itself, we need more education on what these numbers mean
I agree.
before we can use this document. It's not a
Right.
useful document. So I don't wanna get away from that and in a debate as to whether or not we should have the information, or we should use the information, or the published information. We have it now. It's not a usable document. So now that we have it, we need to go back to Chief Sharan and make sure that these things that are uninterpretable are given to us in an interpretable way.
Well, right.
so-
I think too, I mean, something that Mr. Mosby brought up is unique context.
Yes.
I mean, we're,
That was good.
right, I mean, we're in charge of finances as a council. So why would we be given this information without knowing how much overtime was given to these officers, or how much these officers are making, or, you know, how much does it cost for them to do these traffic citations versus how much they're making, that kind of stuff. Like,
Or why one officer has 31 citations in the month and there's 3 officers that have had 1.
well, especially because about a month ago, I asked Chief Schran for the overtimes for the 3 highest paid employees, and the 3 highest paid employees that he gave me are some of the 3 lowest performing officers by citation. Now, I know, it's been made very clear that I don't know a lot about policing, but either way, I just don't understand why. What are these people doing? I would like to be educated on that. What are they doing? And I understand he has this one part about, you know, one day in a police officer's life looks like this. I'm trying to find where that is, but I mean, there's nothing that we can do with this unless we're given the information that we need. And the information that we need is financial information. And, you know, I don't want to micromanage, but if nobody else is going to look at this, then I would like to.
So I think, to Ms. Anderson's point, if we could just go through the document and figure out where it is that we need,
Clarification.
clarification.
Right.
To be able to, hone in on some of the areas that you want. And please, I feel like he was asked for something, and there was something. So, I don't necessarily assume that in this document that he was trying to withhold anything. It's just not usable to us because we don't understand policing. And I'm gonna just say that, and then the only thing we can do from here is just ask for those things specifically, even if that was the case where there were unintentional withholding. So what? At this point, we gotta focus on what information we do need to get to the right place.
Well, what I
Going
will
back
say,
to your other question, though, you'd originally asked us, is there any part of this we don't need? Do you know
Right.
if this can be parsed out?
it can, according to Mr. Mosby, it can be.
So
And
I can tell you that I don't know that we need to know the year of the vehicle that was in the
Right.
wreck.
I agree.
agree.
Or the color of the vehicle that was in
Right.
the wreck.
I agree.
And I've seen that on multiple pages.
Yep,
That, to me, is, I can't possibly understand how relevant that is.
I would like
To me,
it,
that's a used car salesman's
yeah,
gold mine right there.
right,
Put
I
that
would
on
like,
the council cares.
instead of that, I would like it to be added, if you go down to page 31, there's a blank space next to 5 for daily activities by officer. And I would also like to know, because like I said, and once again, 2 of the 3 of the people who I asked for overtime for are at the lowest point of those daily activities, have 2 of the lowest numbers.
Activities are.
Right, what are, like
I walk to my desk.
well, and see, the activities are listed above. It says like traffic stop, found recovered property, just basic stuff that police do daily. So why is it that the 3 highest paying people are doing the lowest amount of activities? Are they doing something else during the day that's not listed in the activities? So,
Where do you see that's listed?
so I'm on 31 and
I see the daily activities by
29.
officer, but you started to say what they could be, and that's what I don't see.
so it says, oh, sorry. Yeah, it says under
Oh, it's on a
20,
different page.
yeah, 28 and 29 is daily activities 1 and daily
I got it.
activities 2.
Okay. I got it.
Madam Chair, I think just looking at the information, I think the best thing to do, I wouldn't say individually, but is to, I wouldn't say email as a group, but if you had questions for him, let him know the questions, and then also let him know what's the outcome you're looking for, what is the reason for the question, what are you looking for in a report, what's your goal, what are you trying to figure out? It sounds like you're talking about the reasons for overtime and what they're doing in a graph or a chart. Now, he did give us a presentation, I think 6 weeks ago, but I think it wouldn't hurt to review the presentation and then maybe find information that you need more about, and then directly. What I'm trying to say is you should hone in on what type of information you want for him and also the reason. So if you give him the reason and what you want, he might be able to cater it better to you in your inquiry.
Yeah, I think
And
that's what we're
actually,
doing.
that was my point in sending the report to everyone, was to get feedback from the members of this committee regarding this report. So it wasn't, and then I could, obviously, we could share that with Mr. Mosby and maybe get something that's more targeted. For example, we have a page that talks about mutual aid. I certainly think that that's something, we should, ask more questions about, because that's something that, that's been discussed in various contexts. So is this mutual aid assist police? Does that mean our officers are going to other jurisdictions, or does that, I'm just kind of curious as to what that includes. The fire runs, does that mean that we, officers had to go on fire runs, or officers had to go on fire runs in other jurisdictions? So I think that the reason, and again, I apologize, I didn't get the report to everyone until yesterday. But one of the things that I wanted to do, and I certainly didn't expect that we would come to a consensus today, but I did want to get feedback from everyone, just an opportunity to digest what's in this report. I don't necessarily want to just do like an information dump every month of the entire report. I don't know that that's the best idea, without further discussion, but I do think that there's some benefit to us kind of looking through this, at least with some of the information. I think I agree with Ms. Zorb that I don't necessarily know that we need to know that, there were 3 silver cars in accidents in the month of
So
August.
I'm just making a quick document of stuff that we're talking about that we like and we would like him to keep on the reports, stuff that we need added to the reports, stuff that we would like updated on the reports, and stuff that we don't need on the reports. Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So we don't need the color, make, or model of car.
So, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes,
I didn't
please.
mean to be rude.
No,
I
no, you're
apologize.
fine, you're fine.
So when we're looking at this report, and we're trying to decide page by, I assume, because when we first opened the discussion, it was like, let's go page by page. Can we do that, though? Can we just go page by page and just decide what information is helpful, how we would like to know more about why that page is there? And then, this is in a document that we can easily just get rid of the pages that we don't want. I don't know, it's easy to just eliminate the pages that we don't want.
You could print
'Cause I do
print
agree
it,
that-
and then keep the ones you want and
Yeah, and
rescan
then
it.
by giving him maybe the feedback of where we want more information,
Mhm.
then maybe those pages where we don't need information at all can just be eliminated.
Let's do it. So the way that I'm putting this in here is like, so for instance, and I know we haven't talked about this yet, but for instance, if we did want to keep page 1, I'd put that under the keep, and then I'd say page 1, and then the title of like what it is. So that way he knows for the next report what he would want to keep, or what he doesn't need to spend time on putting together, and what we would like more information on.
Technically, I think he sent us the complete report because that's what he calculates every month. I agree with Ms. Dukestein that it would be up to us to maybe select what we need and just print that out, because the old saying is, I mean, you can have too much information, but I think this is a part of the report, so we should accept that. But for our own future reference, we could just keep exactly what we needed.
But if we want more information on something, we need
That's
to
what
give
we're
them-
saying.
Yeah.
That's why I go page by page and just say, hey, next month, can you give us this? We'd like more information. And then if those pages are there, just take them out. If they're
Okay,
not
that's
there,
fine. Yeah.
then
And to me, one of the most important documents, I know we went over the overtime 6 weeks ago, would be the budget, maybe for a quarter. That would be something important for us to look at. I mean, I know we have previous copies from our complete budgets, but a quarterly one would help also.
All right, do we want to start on page 1?
Now, the first page of the report is actually not numbered. I'm looking at the bottom of some of the pages, there's actually a number on the page, but the first page of the report doesn't have a number. It just seems to be like a cover page that's an overview.
I don't know what I'm sorry. I don't know how you guys are looking at it, but I'm open up on my laptop with Google Docs, and I'm not actually looking at the page numbers on the page. I'm looking at the page numbers at the bottom of the screen on the Google Docs,
Screen
almost
is-
like
Yeah,
PowerPoint or
Right.
PDF or Nitro.
yeah, it's
Right.
telling us the page.
So the first one's not numbered, but the computer numbered it as one. Is that what
Okay.
you're saying?
That's what I was saying, actually.
Okay.
There are page numbers for this document, but they're just cut off a little bit at the bottom right.
Right.
Well, the first page doesn't have a number, though.
And that's not unusual.
Right, yeah,
So the first page of the PDF,
right.
and that just compares by year. I find that,
I thought that was helpful.
I thought that was too. Especially to know that the overall crime rate has gone down. I mean, like Mr. Mosby said, 2020, January to September. I mean, people weren't out as much, of course, but that is interesting to know, because if next year that trend continues, or if, next month that trend continues,
I'd really like to see what 2019 was,
I would too.
because 2020 should have been where it plummeted.
So I'm gonna put that into,
But okay, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, you're good.
I think it's relative, because like if you look at 20, so like if you look at the domestic violence, it's actually gone up. But that was expected, right? Because there was a lot of,
Pension.
Because of COVID.
yes. And so like the news was talking about that, like there was even,
Right.
Jobs and Family Services said that.
Unfortunately, that's down because a lot of the reports for children being abused was being done by teachers notifying them. And so when everyone was at home, it got kind of scary for the children. I
Right.
saw that on the news.
So you'll see the
yes.
numbers kind of not really representing.
Right. That's why I think it would be cool to see 19. That way we can see. Because you're right. I mean, it's not a normal trend because it wasn't a normal year.
Well, 2 years doesn't make a trend.
Right, exactly. So if you guys are okay, I would like to ask him for 19 and 18 if possible.
Yeah.
Now, remember, there was a period of time when there were no reports, there was no, because the software had died or
Ask for it and see
did,
what
it-
he comes up with, right?
okay,
Yeah.
sure, okay.
So page 0 is useful.
And this is really just no, it's not. I was gonna say it's a monthly report, but it's
Generic
not. That is for the whole year.
Well, actually, this is only for August 2021.
Right.
Oh, so that's August, yep, you're right.
All right.
So I think if we were asking for something, for page 0, I guess, then we should ask for, instead of, and this may be extensive, right? This page itself may be extensive if we do it this way. To ask for totals, not just for the month, but just the end totals for each year category. Like the first column on, under incident and report should not be August 2021. It should just be 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018,
Okay.
2017.
I like but I like the monthly also.
I do
Well,
too, especially
If you
because
do them, go ahead.
we're not done with 2021. That's the only thing that I was gonna say. I'd like to,
Well, to date, we could get to date. Because I'm not sure why you like the monthly, but I'm thinking in order to really relatively pull back and look at the information macroly, we would have to not look at the months until we actually look at the years.
but that's what it is though, right? Last year, year to date, and then this year, year to date.
Right, so we have incidents reported in August 2021,
Mm-hmm.
and we have incidents reported in August 2020.
Right.
And, you know, that's actually a decrease there. And then there was incidents reported in July 2021. So I think all of that, to me, that's helpful.
Yeah.
And then the year-to-date of this year, and then the year-to-date the same time last year, also very helpful.
Yeah. I
Did
agree.
we see a decrease in overtime in tandem with the decrease of crime?
Well, we don't know that because we don't have that information.
Yeah, he didn't include that in the report, which I would like for him to add.
I'm not sure that would be necessarily added to the report. Overtime also is there's another factor that's involved with that, which is, as you all know, we were short, 5 officers.
That would make,
So when you're short 5 officers, more of the officers have to do overtime. So, so those would be factors that wouldn't necessarily show up. Remember, this report is simply showing the police activity, crimes and incidents occurring. That's basically what this is.
Right, but if we have more context around it, I mean, like I was saying earlier, the overtime information that I do have on the 3 highest paid officers, also this report shows that those 3 highest paid officers are working the least according to the information that I have from this. Now, I don't know if that's true. That's why I feel like I need more context around that, and I feel like information on the overtime would help me get that information, so that way I don't have to assume that those 3 highest paying officers aren't working.
Because logic,
what if you,
reason stands that if you're working more hours, you would have put in more of those activities.
Yes.
That's on that other sheet.
Yes, and if I'm
Because
wrong and I'm
proportionally,
missing
you've got more time to do
information-
it.
Yeah, and if I'm wrong and I'm missing more information, then I would like to know the information that I'm missing.
And how do you, this is a question not relevant to this, but do we know how, is it given by priority, or how do they give?
Seniority.
Seniority?
Seniority, yeah, but also that's a little bit not true because he said it was by seniority, but then he also said it's by like the last person to leave, and then he said it was, so it kind of depends on the situation. There was like a lot that went into it.
I understand that. Now it's coming back to me.
Yeah.
I thought he
So
said he was trying to rotate it
Well, he said
and
he
distribute
was.
it evenly among the police officers, so no certain person or group of people would get burnt out. That's what I heard, but
Well, that
my-
was his second answer. His first answer was that it was done by seniority. Then when we asked a little bit later, he said that he tries to rotate. And then when we asked a little bit later, he says that he asked the people who most recently left because they're the most likely to be able to come back. So there were a lot of different answers, kind of depending on how you asked it and who you asked it about.
So
I think a good
I'm-
thing to do would be for us to also review his presentation, because there might be some things in there that could give us some answers. and fill in some, not that we don't want to ask for more information, but I think a refresher view on his presentation would be good. That, I mean, that would be on our own time, but that's just like a suggestion that I have.
So I just want to say this, just because I know that it's relevant information. I can remember previous, it's just a small example, a previous job where it was actually at UPS having to schedule drivers and their DOT regulations. And so like, it is more appropriate to bring somebody back who just left, because they are more likely to come back, but then they only have a certain amount of hours that they can work or based on their time. And so I feel like that might be some of the combination of what he was speaking to. And then that thing becomes really complicated. You have to have 12 hours down and before you can start another shift again. And there's like so many complexities that go into how you schedule. And then when you get into overtime also. So that would be a part of like understanding how overtime is given, divvied out. But so I'm just saying that to keep that in mind, because we would really have to, which again yields to the point where you can't just give information without an education or without context. So we would have to really dig into what those parameters are and understanding what he was saying, which probably we would not get on the video because it was kind of like an overview. That would probably be very specific, direct. You have this, you have this, you have this, you have this, and this is how we schedule.
Well, what I will say is that I don't think that we're going to come to a consensus about all of this information tonight.
Oh, no.
What I would ask Mr. Mosby is perhaps if we could get, for our next committee meeting, the report, this same report for the month of September. And then if, without replying to all, if I could have just everyone send me emails about what questions you have about this report after having reviewed it, and then I'll compile those questions, forward those to Mr. Mosby so that we can get maybe perhaps some more detailed information for next month.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you for doing
The
that.
other thing I could do, Madam Chair, is of course talk to Chief Schramm and have him come as well, because obviously if we get everybody together, we would be able to hopefully then kind of create the document that, would be a sound document, effective document. And he would also be able to help provide some explanation of some of the things that I was not able to tonight.
Okay, fair enough.
Madam Chair, I was also thinking when we were talking about how is the overtime settled or chosen or distributed, another thing that they might actually lean on is probably their union contract for that.
Actually,
They don't,
no.
they don't,
It's
okay.
not- There is, well, not to try to get too deep into it, but basically, in some cases, you're right, that could be, not necessarily in this case, but there is a policy that has been used.
Yes,
So,
that's what I was thinking.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, as I said before, I don't think that we're going to be able to reach a consensus about this information during this one committee meeting, but what I would ask all of the members of the committee is to take an opportunity over the course of the next few weeks to review the information in this report, and then send me your questions, and also if there's some additional information that you would like, I'll forward that information to Mr. Mosby, and then hopefully we can have that for our next committee meeting. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time, because I do appreciate everyone coming out for our meeting. Is there anything with regard to the old business? I know it's kind of floating out there, and Ms. Zorb did remind me that I should leave the old business on our agenda until we resolve it. So it's there. So just so everyone knows that those are things that we've been kind of talking about and we haven't resolved. Is there any new business from anyone that anyone wants to add to our agenda at this time? Okay, so the action item that we have is for everyone to just send some feedback about the report and questions for Chief Schrand, and then we'll kind of go from there. And with that, it is 8:27, and at this time, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thanks, guys.